Right here we have Earl Weaver Baseball. This, in my opinion, is the greatest game ever created for baseball on the computer. And the interesting thing is that it was released sometime in the early to mid 80s, and I don't think anything has ever topped this since. And there's been a lot of games that come out. So Earl Weaver was a manager, obviously, as you can see, the Orioles, for some time in, I think, 1968 to 1982. This Earl Weaver Baseball was released, like I said, I remember playing around 1987, so it might have been released around that time. It was programmed by Eddie Dumbrower, Terry Mason, and the statistical formula was created by Don DeGlow, which is like the guts and engine of this game. Baseball is all about strategy, statistics, and Don does an amazing job of putting down a program that gives the likeliness of what's going to happen. Where I feel is a lot of video games on the market, they'll have player strengths and things like that, and maybe if you've got Derek Jeter on your team, you're more likely to get a hit. But with this game, it was all about statistics. If you had a hitter that hit a certain amount and it would match up against a certain pitcher, using a right-hander or left-hander, how tired is he? You had to manage everything. And the cool thing is that you were able to play manager mode. You can play a bunch of different modes on here. You could play the computer plays by itself on both sides. You can do a one-pitch mode. You can do a quick play mode. You can just play the game and get the box scores, or you can sit there and play every single pitch when you created teams. Even more interesting is that you can get a couple discs with this. You have the commissioner's disc here, which you can go in and you can change the dimensions of the ball field. You can create a league. You can name the league. You can name the teams. You can name the players after your friends. So the game would come kind of preloaded with all stars from different eras. So it would say, hey, the American League from 1901 to 1925 or what have you, and you get all the players and you play against other, essentially what would be all-star teams, which I believe were picked by Earl Weaver himself in the game. And you could play a league play with them a whole season, and it would keep your statistics for you. Or like I said, you can name your own teams and your own fields and your own home fields and everything, man. You could pick pitchers, put them in. You could, have your friends' names and labeled, and then you could have them with, different players. So very statistical, and in order to make sure nobody stole their license, they had this little baseball at the beginning when it came out. So it looks like in 1987, Electronic Arts is when this was actually released. And what would happen is when you started your game, it would tell you to pick a stadium and then a seat, and then you'd pick a part of the stadium, and then you'd enter a code. And just so you didn't steal our software, there was so many different codes that you'd have there that you'd be able to go in and pick from. And once you compile the stats, now there are games like Baseball Stars for Nintendo, but they wouldn't let you print things out. And I'm just going to show you because these are actually people's names in real life, so I don't want to put them all up there, but you at the end of the game, you be able to print something out where you'd see all the box scores, what the end score of the game was, when they had runs, how many, every single player's, this guy had 5 at bats, he had 1 hit, he had 2 strikeouts, and it would go down. It would have your pitcher, how many innings he pitched, how many hits against him, how many strikeouts he had. And so this would be, let's say, like 1 game. And then you could have a printout of everything that happened for that game, everything that happened for your roster, everything that happened for the season. It would, you would have playoff games and things like that, which was really cool. Like I said, I'm not going to show you my whole book here because they're actual people, and I just randomly put all the kids in my school on various teams and played. But that's what I did with my time. Like I said, I loved baseball. I would watch baseball all day long, play baseball. And so that's Earl Weaver, the computer game. This game particularly was popular on the Tandy computer, and you would be able to play with a joystick. But I didn't really have that. I had a CompuAd 810, and I played with a mouse, so it was a little more challenging. And by the way, I am looking for a CompuAd with 810 with Microsoft already installed. Microsoft, I promise, all I'm going to do is play Earl Weaver with it. So if you guys know where I can get one, I would love to have one. I was building one at one point, and then I got rid of it because I picked up a complete Tandy system. And then I was so excited to play my game, and then I realized that the person had basically just put an emulator in the gaming system rather than the original guts of the Tandy. So processor speed was important with these games, because if you had a processor speed that was too high, then the game would just go super quick. So your processor speed had to match the game, which wasn't a challenge if you had the, right computer for the job. So this one, 256 RAM was required. And I think if you went above that, the game would go too quick. Then subsequently, they came out with Earl Weaver 2, which I'll probably do a second video on. It's a box set, which I have, but this is the game to it. It was, in fact, a lot more advanced, a lot better graphics, but still, I preferred the original, if I'm going to be honest with you. Nothing's ever topped it. I've never played a statistical game better than Earl Weaver Baseball. Maybe you know some, feel free to comment below. But in my opinion, greatest baseball game ever created. Thank you.